You think you hate it now, but wait till you drive it.
The Kibbe and Friends Show.
What it is, bro?
Featuring Rob Kibbe.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Justin Corndog Cornett.
New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
And show producer Bernie McPartland.
This is the DJ 3000, and it has 3 distinct varieties of inane chatter.
Talking cars.
Do you feel this vehicle is safe for highway travel?
Yes, I do.
Diving deep on the topics that matter most.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this.
And totally redeem yourself!
And the Dukes of Hazzard. Available in iTunes, Stitcher, and whatever else it is you listen on.
Turn up the volume.
The Kibbe and Friends Show.
Kibbe and Friends Show, episode number 115. Available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Stitcher, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. Fellas, happy Independence Day to you. Our Independence Day edition of the show.
Nice.
A lot of America talk tonight.
You may even hear some fireworks from the neighbors across the street.
Like shotguns or real fireworks?
Combination of both.
You are in Mississippi. I assume that some people honk the horn when they get home from work to let the missus know they're there. I assume in Mississippi there's... No?
Could be arguing with the family next door. Who knows?
All in good fun. Okay, so fellas, we have a lot to cover tonight. The first thing that we need to do is give a Patreon update. So in our June Patreon show that we did just for our Patreon audience with our show sponsor, Dan Atkinson, who joined us for the entire show, we had a giveaway. So for those who are not Patreon members, first of all, you need to join in on Patreon. More on that in a second. We're giving away things once a month to our Patreon audience, just as a thank you. And sometimes it's car related and sometimes it's not. And this month it was... I've realized after the fact, like a $349 prize turned out. It's a survival pack from a company called Uncharted, and it was from an ad campaign that Finnegan and I had signed up to do that fizzled out at the last second, but they had already sent out the promotional show swag. So we each got one of these survival bags from Uncharted. And it's this cool canvas bag, and inside there's an inflatable... It almost looks like a vest that you'd put on if you're going in the water, but it's full of pockets, full of tools, a knife, a tent, a water filter to filter water out in the... I mean, it's this really awesome thing. I have let the winner know that they have won. And to be a winner, you had to be at our $10 Patreon level or be a 6-month or longer contributor. So I let this person know, but they have not replied yet. So should I just say his name here publicly? Because, like, if he doesn't take it, I got to give it to somebody else. And I really want him to have it. I feel like we should.
Give him a chance.
I feel like we should say his name right now. Gregory Hagman, where are you?
Greg.
We need you, man.
Greg. You should have like a 5-day window or something. Maybe even less than that.
Well, I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt because when I get an email, I need like a 1-month buffer to realize that it happened because it gets just freaking so many. So Gregory Hagman or Hagman, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but you know who you are. You did win, but you got to claim your prize. So if I hadn't heard from you by the week after the 4th of July, we're going to have to give it somewhere else. But hopefully you will hear this. And quite frankly, if we had 2 of these things, I would give away 2. This was the second prize we've given away. It was really popular. I had no idea that was going to be so well received, but people like really dug it. And I really wanted it to go to somebody that would not just, put on eBay or something, but would get to use it. And I had a lot of people that wanted to use it. My friend John Hobson from college has been a sponsor for a long time. His response is probably the funniest because he goes like, I'm in California and either this state's going to drop off the country and I'm going to go into the ocean and I'll need it, or this California will secede and I'll need it.
Wildfire will pass through and he'll need it.
And I'll need it. So I ended up just kind of putting it in a random generator of all qualified people. Greg, you're the winner. Please let me know that you'd like to grab it. Before we really dig into the show here, you're going to hear some different sponsors this month throughout the show. And we're kind of changing and going through these. So this show is unique. We run more radio-style ad spots in here, and we do have the ability to say yes or no to who's coming into the show. Frankly, your response as an audience dictates how long that sponsor will stick with us. So if they're just not a good fit, if nobody's buying stuff, they'll probably drop us. One of those is about to go away, and then we're about to get a new one in. What we really need, though, in the long run is good Patreon support. So we're going all in on Patreon. There won't just be giveaways. There may not just be one extra show a month just for the Patreon audience. But shows like ours that are niche-y, we're not for the 200 to 300,000 person crowd. We're for a good crowd, a very sizable crowd. But we're more in the niches, and the riches are in the niches, they say, and that's where Patreon comes in. So from us to you, we're asking you, please join us on Patreon, patreon.com/KF show. Has some very reasonable price options in there. Stickers are now made. I have made my first run of stickers. Nice. You guys are getting our first run of stickers, and you need to have these babies on you at all times. This is how we win them, see? They're like crack cocaine, but in sticker form. Yeah. I will be at the Des Moines Good Guys show this weekend here in Iowa. I'll have my Chevelle there, and I'll have Kibby Lee there. If you followed the build of that car at all, come up and tell me that. You get a sticker. If you're a Patreon supporter at the end of this month, you're going to get a sticker. Soon enough, we'll have these available for sale, I'm sure. You guys are going to dig them so much. They're die cut, so it's like the whole logo, kind of in that half moon shape and everything. It's really neato.
I saw the picture that you posted on Instagram. It's a nice looking sticker too.
I used a different service this time. I used Sticker Mule. You guys ever use Sticker Mule?
No, but I have a new nickname.
Don't. They might be a sponsor. Don't burn them. I want to
try that with the real General Lee. I've been thinking about doing stickers with that.
Totally unsolicited. I was thoroughly pleased. I uploaded a logo that our man Kirk Hansen put together. They sent me a proof within less than an hour, and it was a really simple sticker. Just want to make sure that they made sure that the shadow was still in there. And then you choose your size, and I want a die cut, and I wanted to make sure I had them in time for the show, so I actually got a rush delivery. Didn't even need it. They showed up way early. So yeah, needless to say, Patreon's where it's at for us. So patreon.com/KF show, and title sponsorship. And title sponsorship, that's how we run Muscle Car Place. We've got help coming for that. There'll be more on that later as well. Okay, so with all of that said, that's the business and procedural stuff. I do have some kind of fun patriotic things to do before this is just a normal show. We have a Dukes review to do, but we wanted to do some news first. And Bernie, I think we'll just change the order and roll right to the news. Corndog, right before the show, kind of let us know what the breaking news, the first topic is. Did you want to announce that one?
I will, but I'm going to rely on him for a little bit of the details since it's just now breaking news to all of us, and it's sad news to report. If you have any car history in you at all, then you know this name without an issue. Lee Iacocca has apparently passed away, and today, I believe that's right, and Corndog, you were the one actually breaking that news to us, so as we're looking and searching, how did you find this out? And I don't even remember if I know how old he was.
It says here that he was born on October 15th, 1924.
94 years old.
So just before we got started recording, I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I saw that Jalopnik shared the news that he had passed away. So I was getting ready to start reading it, and then we started this. I found out about it like maybe just a minute, 2 minutes just before we started. So I haven't even got to read up on it yet. So
that is sad. That is a icon passing. It's not just a person, but someone who truly, truly had his hand in and changed, in anyone's opinion, the way the automotive world has worked for the last 40 to 50 years. There was a special, I don't know if you saw this, I believe it was History Channel, maybe it was the Smithsonian Channel. They share some programming back and forth. A few months back, they had a series called The Cars That Made America. Now, this was a 3-night, 2-hour each series that ran through the very early days of automotive, and it had a middle section and then the current state of the automobile, if you will. And Lee Iacocca had a lot of stage time on that, and it was the typical History Channel thing where they would use kind of mock actors to play out the roles and, have dialogue and then a narrator kind of leading the story along. And it followed Lee from his days at Ford through Chrysler and the innovations he made, him and his research that he did, along with DeLorean. They were down on Woodward Avenue. They had a big segment on that about the development of cars in the muscle era. So if you get a chance to see that, maybe you can on demand that or see it somehow. I would recommend that if you would like to see a real background of how he did that, plus how he saved Chrysler, how the minivan came about. So just so many accomplishments, probably too many to go over here. An amazing history, a lot of things you may have known or may have forgotten about. So I recommend that highly. But sad news today. So we mourn the passing, and our thoughts and prayers are with you, the Iacocca family, and his passing. And we wish you a good best and the best of things. And our prayers are with you. And we just we thank you for his influence over the years, and thank you for letting him share his knowledge and his wealth and his, just his vision for us. We wouldn't be here where we are today without a Lee Iacocca.
I still remember a lot of the autobiographies that my dad would read when I was a kid. I remember the Iacocca one. I think it's his most famous autobiography. It's where he's kind of leaning back on a desk with his hands behind his head, and it's Iacocca.
I have that
That's
book.
The name of the book. Yeah, that very book.
The book right over here.
National Parts Depot was an Iacocca award winner. I didn't even know what that meant when I first started talking to him. Father of the Mustang. Yes, he saved Chrysler. It's interesting, in the 2008 bankruptcies for GM, Chrysler, and almost Ford, there was a lot of talk about the method that they used being kind of similar to how Iacocca got it done in the late 70s. I'm not here to judge one way or the other, but the man did save a car company.
Yeah.
And kind of changed the future of it. Interesting enough, in the Ford versus Ferrari movie that comes out, Lee Iacocca plays a role in it. He's the man that gets Carroll Shelby involved to go kick the bejesus out of Ferrari. So, what a guy. There's always the funniest line of The Office, like where everybody is having a glass of scotch and Michael Scott's boss says, "I got this from Lee Iacocca, 20-year-old whiskey," and then Michael Scott goes, "To Lee Iacocca and your failed experiment, the DeLorean."
Oh man, yeah.
Well, sad news for that. Maybe we'll do a little more on that later, kind of as things settle in and we learn a little bit more. But yeah, sad news today, and hope he's home with the Lord.
Indeed. Well, a happier note. A anniversary we passed this year for you, Rob. 10 years in the podcast business. Is that right?
Yes. 10 years behind the mic. Finally, the industry has just said, this is a good idea.
We've all been one-upped in the business. You, Adam Carolla, all the big names in podcasting who've been here for a long time, you've all been one-upped. And I think it's time I need to bring this to light. Okay. His name is Lauriston Lee Crockett the Fourth, and he's considered the youngest podcaster in America to date. He's in the second grade now, rounding the bases for third, and he wants to be able to interview people and find out the beautiful things they have to offer and make a career out of it. Sound familiar? Sound like something Rob is trying to do every day of his life. Well, thought you might like to hear a little example. Rob, here is your replacement one day as he's interviewing, and you might know this name, both of you, Ed Too Tall Jones, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, it does.
Here's a little piece of Lauriston.
Okay. You played baseball and basketball, but only played 3 high school football games. Can you tell me why?
Okay, I grew up on a farm in Jackson, Tennessee.
Yes.
And the first high school I attended didn't have football. So I played baseball, basketball, and ran track. And by the time I was a senior, I'd watched the football a lot. And actually, the team that I watched a lot was the Dallas Cowboys.
I just love the innocence of that. Just, oh, okay. Oh, you did? Okay, that's great. So he's got pull with the big names. He's got a website and everything. It's something with cookies in it. I forgot I was going to write the name of that down. I was going to remember it. It was real memorable, but you probably Google Lauriston, Lauriston, and podcasting. It probably will come up. He loves to fish. He loves to play ice hockey, and he loves to collect. To keep it in the car vein, he loves to collect Hot Wheels.
Good for
Someone's
him.
raising it up right. So
He did this on his own accord. I'm going to cry, though, because that is not cool.
Surely mom and dad had nothing to do with it.
Little punk kid
I don't
taking
know.
one sponsors.
But he had the good stuff. He had his guest in studio. You heard how clear, everything was. So I think there's a video clip, and it's
great.
just, he's being a great sport with that. So way to go, Lauriston. Maybe we'll have him on this show, or maybe Rob, you could be on his show. That would be a great coup to have that together.
Anything you can get.
Anything
Sure.
you can get.
Did they say where he was from?
They did, and a great news person like myself, I didn't write it down. So
it's just minuscule.
I try to leave something to the imagination in everything that I do. I don't want to just spill it all out. All right. Well, meantime.
We love baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet. Baseball.
From the not-so-cheap dates department of the Kibbe and Friends show, baseball is in full swing, and so are the prices for those simple pleasures. You guys seen a game this year at one of the ballparks? And if you did you have a hot dog and a drink?
No, it's been a while for me.
Yeah, Des Moines has a minor league team. It's the Cubs affiliate.
Yeah.
Which is really fun to go to. My wife was going to take me to that. We're going to do a skip reality day and go on a Monday, like on my birthday, we're going to go. And then I had to work and it rained anyway, so screw it. But that is a great place to have a hot dog and a beer. But what do you have there, Corndog? You're not a beer drinker. Do you have a cola? What's a refreshing?
I don't even know what I would normally get. Either a Coke or a sweet tea.
Mm-hmm. I thought this was cool because there was a variety across the nation, and probably the minor league teams are kind of like the ones we have here. I forget the minor league team here, but we saw them once. And I thought it was a better game than, some of the major league ones that I've been to before. But there's such a wide range. I thought you might want to be ready if you're going to go to the ballpark about who has the most expensive drinks and the most expensive hot dogs versus the best value. And if you're looking for a hot dog and a beer, probably the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field probably is going to be your best bet. $3 for a cold brew there. Hot dog at the Baltimore Orioles, Camden Park, is only $1.50 there. Most expensive, both of these, oddly enough, at the New York Mets at Citi Field. What do you think a beer goes for there?
At New York?
In New York, in Mets Park, or Citi Field, but same thing.
Okay. And I'd also be curious to what it costs for the Yankees too. Are we talking like a 12-ounce beer?
Usually they're 14 to 16 ounces.
$12.
Not too far off. $10.50.
Yeah. I was going to come in cheap at $8.
There's 7.5 down the street from us here. So I thought, I don't even think it's 12. So it may be 12.
In New York, is the beer $3 and then it's $9 worth of taxes?
I bet that's part of it. I think it is. Reclamation taxes and for all the things that they do.
The excess
hot dog
tax,
there is also 6.5. So that's you got to take a little spending change with you if you're going to go have a good time at the ballpark there.
See, that is why people stay home and watch on TV, because the coverage is better and the food and the drink is far cheaper. That's what drives people away from live events. Like dropping $500 to go to a ball game, I would never do that. That's crazy talk.
No.
What about your NASCAR tracks? Ours here, Texas Motor Speedway, you can bring in your own cooler.
We cannot do that at the Iowa Speedway, but back when it was the Busch Series, I went with a buddy to IRP, which was the night before the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis. That was a good time, man. We didn't know that you could take in beer, so we bought a styrofoam cooler and loaded that to the brim. That was fun. That was great. I don't think we even bought anything there. We just watched the race the whole time.
Yeah, well, you can bring in your hot dogs and everything there, and your chips and stuff, and share and get to know your neighbor. Good times. Well, you guys going to go see some fireworks?
Absolutely.
Do y'all have displays around where you are?
Many. Yeah, many.
This has always been a pet peeve of mine. They'll do it like the Saturday before, or some of them was 2 weeks before. And I've never understood that. Why not do it the night of the 4th of July? But they've had a couple of them going on over this last weekend.
Yeah, that is annoying because you get like Lincoln's birthday is on a Thursday, but you have to celebrate it on Monday with a day off.
Yeah.
There is a list. There's a couple of lists, actually, of who has the, well, you say best in quotations, best fireworks shows on the 4th. And I was surprised by this because we always sit down and watch, speaking of TV coverage, we'll turn on PBS on the 4th of July and watch the Grand Philharmonic and the fireworks shows and all that. Even on TV, it's a pretty spectacular show. But on this list of 2 or 3, it was not even number one, and I was shocked. What else I was shocked by is that one of the cities you would certainly think would be on the list and in the top was not on the list, and that city was Las Vegas. Strangely missing from the list, the city of good times, the 24-hour city, they say. No fireworks there. Number 3, Boston, Massachusetts. That kind of makes sense. But what did make the list? Further down, what was that? Nashville was on there. But one close to me, there's a small town north of us, or it used to be a small town, called Addison, Texas, kind of northeast of Dallas, between Dallas and Fort Worth. They have a thing called, I believe it's called Kaboom Town, and they make a big deal out of it. It's a day-long thing of concerts and then fireworks at night. That made the list, top number 4 or 5 on a couple of them. But number 2 was Washington, D.C.
So I would have thought that would have been number 1.
I would have thought that too. Again, New York City, number 1.
There you go.
I think it's probably just because of the link.
DC.
You've gone
I've
to
been
DC
to DC
for fireworks?
On the 4th. And we sat at one end of the mall. I can't remember where it was. This was back in 2001. It was pretty interesting.
2001, so this is 2 months before.
Just before 9/11, yeah. We were able to go to see all the monuments and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, a couple months later, everything was shut down and you couldn't even go anywhere.
When we were getting ready to move, my wife found some pictures. My first job was for a company out of Montreal, but I work for them in Connecticut. And she came out to see me. So we went to New York City for the weekend. And there's a picture of her across the bay or the Hudson or whatever it is. And the Twin Towers are in the background. And we had actually gone to the Twin Towers because, not to see them, that was one of the places that you could buy day of tickets to like a Broadway show. I remember clearly standing outside of one of the towers looking up and just saying, man, that's a really tall building. And thinking nothing more of it. Wow. So New York's number 1, DC's number 2, and Boston's number 3. Frankly, that all sounds pretty fitting. That's kind of cool.
Patriotic.
It does. I think it's because of time. They have time signatures on here. The one in New York City lasts 20 minutes to a half hour, and the one in D.C., they say, is only about 15 minutes or so. So maybe it's just a time-invested thing that makes it the best. 15 minutes is a lot of kaboom.
So I remember as a kid in the 80s, the city of Cedar Rapids decided to go have a kind of a patriotic summer festival. And that was the first time that they tried to electronically time the fireworks to music. And the music was broadcast on the local powerhouse AM, FM sister stations. And everybody brought a radio. And they brought them all downtown. And Cedar Rapids is interesting because the city hall at that time was on an island in the middle of the river. So they shut all the bridges down. They turned off all the lights. And everybody sat out on the bridges. And there were about 5 of them across the ocean. And turned up the boom boxes. And it was so awesome. To me, that's still kind of the gold standards of what fireworks should be. And I'm sure in the grand scheme it was nothing. But as a 10-year-old, it was amazing. I still think of that when we go to fireworks displays now. The other one that I really think of was in New York in 1986 for the 100th celebration of the Statue of Liberty. They flaked the torch, put gold flake all the way around it. The torch used to light up, and that was the second version of it. The tall ships came in. The battleship Iowa came up the river. Reagan was there, gave a speech. That was maybe the most patriotic time I ever remember. And my dad parallel parked in one try an RV in New York in 2 spots. Got it in got out, and like people on the sidewalk were like, bam, farm boy, that not too shabby. I still thought, man, that was so awesome. One try.
Nailed it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's all I got. That's the news as we see it on this holiday week.
With that said, before we get to the Dukes of Hazzard review, I do have a little bit of a holiday game for you guys. This isn't a guessing game necessarily. We're going to give ratings to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different clips that I have pulled that are patriotic or moving in nature. And what we're trying to do, when it's all said and done, from 1 to 10, you got to tell me, does this make you want to run through a brick wall and high five anybody with an American flag tattoo? So 1 to 10. Some of these are from movies. Some of these are from TV shows. Some of them are from news clips that happen to be on TV. So that means these could be true, false, fake. Doesn't matter. They're supposed to make you feel good. Is everybody kind of clear on that?
Where is the tattoo on them exactly?
Doesn't matter.
It does matter. It matters a great deal.
Across their chest. There you go.
In this context, it does not matter.
It matters.
You got an eagle on your chest with 2 American flags. How about that?
That's right. First up here. This is, well, I think you'll figure it out as you hear it. Are you guys ready? Here we go.
Ready.
Of all the words written here about freedom, there's a line that's at the heart of all the others. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security.
What do you guys think that is?
That's Nick Cage and the movie.
You are.
It's just on. It was just on. National Treasure.
National Treasure. And I intentionally kind of pulled the less motivational clip in there from that, because later on he goes, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence, which is pretty awesome. All right, so from 1 to 10, Bernie. Yeah. Through a wall to high fives, somebody? High five? 5?
High fives?
Yep.
I'm going to put that one at about a 6 because, as you said, it's leading up to better and better things like that. If it were my clip, I would have probably gone on to say, people just don't talk like that anymore.
I had that in that clip, but it was getting so long, and we had spent so much time on where the tattoo's located.
I'm certainly motivated, but I don't think I'm going through the wall on that one.
All right, Corndog, what do you got?
I'm right there with you on that one. That one was just kind of real low-key, monotone, it was just kind of, okay. Can't really get pumped up on that one.
I agree. It gets better later. I'm going with a 5 there. Okay. So with that said, here comes the next one. Sometimes music is the context here.
Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
German? Forget it, he's rolling.
It ain't over now. Because when the going gets tough, the toughs get going. Who's with me? Let's go! Come on! Hey!
Pretty motivating. Slightly inaccurate historically. Bernie, 1 to 10, what's it going to be?
Never let a good movie get in the way of the truth. I'm a 9.3.
9.3, the clear winner in Bernie's mind thus far. Corndog, what's your answer?
I'm going to put it at about an 8.
That's an 8
good
for you, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Tough for
Pretty
him.
harsh.
Jeez.
That brick wall's going to hurt, so it's going to be well worth it.
Difficult critic. For the historical inaccuracy, it gets a 1. Because World War II is quite important. For comedy genius, it's an 11 on a scale of 10. So I'm going to put this sucker at a 7, 7.5. Make it 9 because of Belushi. That's a 9. Okay. Next one here. This is clip number 3. Very short one. Here we go.
Where did you see this?
That's classified.
It's what?
It's classified. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
We just did this in a recent one. Mm-hmm. What is that clip from there, Bern?
That's Tommy Cruise in Top Gun.
Tommy Cruise. Not called Tommy very often. Now,
by me, he is. Yes.
This is not necessarily the best or the worst clip from here, because I also could have done I Feel the Need for Speed. Mm-hmm. But this is about showing off in front of a woman. That's what it's really about. There's nothing more patriotic than that. So, 1 to 10. What do you got?
I'm going the other way on this one. I'm going 5 on that one.
5.
It didn't motivate me to run through a wall. I would have picked the Tom Skerritt one later on where he's talking about how we have to push it. That's our job. And talking about the battle aspect of it.
That would have been a better clip, but I didn't already have that one loaded. Corndog, what do you got?
There again, I'm right there with Bernie. 5, maybe 5.5 at best.
I'm going to stick this one at a 4. I didn't pull a good clip. I blame myself. Okay, here comes the next one. You'll need a little context for this to make sense. This is a person who would like to buy some fireworks, but they're illegal, and they're going into a store. And this is their approach.
Let me have one of those porno magazines. Large box of condoms, a bottle of Old Harper, a couple of those panty shields, and some illegal fireworks, and one of those disposable enemas. No, make it 2.
Bernie, what was that from? Let me play that one again. I'm worried you didn't get it.
Let me have one of those porno magazines.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Nonchalantly purchasing some things.
Good old Homer.
Homer Simpson. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Funny, but I'm still not running through a wall.
Not for Homer, huh?
Not for Homer.
Not
running through a wall for Homer.
Well, what's your number?
4.
4. So far, Animal House is the clear runaway winner.
At 9.3, yes.
I don't know. I kind of actually like that one because it's a spoof of one of the best movies ever, American Graffiti, where Toad goes in and tries to buy the old Harper. Yeah.
I did not realize that.
He goes through the list of, he just runs them off and he just slips in old Harper in there real quick and gets asked to see ID, and of course he doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to actually put it at about 8.
8. He's ready to run through a brick wall for fake purchase of illegal fireworks.
Just because I love American Graffiti.
I'm giving it an 8 because I think it's hilarious. Okay, here's the next one. This one, I'm going to flat out tell you, this is the one that means the most to me, but it's the most difficult to make you kind of pumped up. But I'm going to play this right now.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I'm flat out telling you right now, I'm giving that a 10. There's nothing that makes me more proud than the moon landing, not because we're the first there, but because it was just so impossible to go in the same decade from we've never tried this before and we don't use computers to man on the moon. That one gives me a 10.
Mm-hmm. I'm a 10 there also. I will go through a wall for that. Absolutely.
How about you, Corndog? What do you got?
I'm right there with the 10 as well.
Okay. Did you guys happen to see First Man, the Neil Armstrong movie? If you didn't get to see it in the theater, I think it's available for rental now somewhere. It's really quite good. It's not like a Top Gun movie. You're not going to walk out like chewing gum and feeling cooler. Like you realize that he was a scientist and a pilot, and it was very hard to do what they did. The NASA footage with the moon landing. What's the name of the movie that just came out a few weeks ago? You know what I'm talking about?
The one you sent me to, that was magnificent. I did not see First Man, but we did see that one, and it's all historical footage in a point of view format. And to me, that was much, much better than a movie.
I loved it. I believe it is on PBS now, just on television, but that was a good one. Okay, so clearly our leader right now is Neil Armstrong and the moon, but we got one more here. We'll see how he does against Neil Armstrong.
The 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
That is, of course, Bill Pullman. We're going to fight the aliens as a United States of America planet. Kill them all. So not necessarily patriotic, but still fun. What do you got, Bernie?
I'm 9.9. I just ran into the wall. I don't know if I can get all the way through.
9.9 on that. Like Neil Armstrong, also, you might say inspired by Neil. Also a space movie. Except Neil was actually in space and this was just a movie. Corndog, what do you got?
His speech, I would have given it a 10, but being that it's a movie about aliens, it bumps it down to about an 8.
I loved this movie when it came out. I saw it twice with my buddy John. I'm giving this one a 9.5, but clearly the winner is Neil Armstrong, Man on the Moon, and because of that, we'll give him one more listen here.
Yep.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That is badass right there. That's what that is.
Just over 50 years ago.
July 20th, 1969. The only reason I know my parents' wedding anniversary is July 20th. That was their 6th wedding anniversary. My dad he was at Collins Radio then. He was not on the space program equipment, but Collins provided the radios in the Apollo spacecraft. And it was a big deal to them, and they watched it on their black and white TV at home. He's told me that story many, many times. 50 years this month. Interesting news going on with NASA right now with the Orion craft. That'll be the next thing that goes potentially back to the moon, but using the moon as kind of the launch pad to the beyond from there.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and get to our Dukes of Hazzard review.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
Starting with a little bit of Dukes of Hazzard news prior to the review. Corndog, the big news, the hot take. What the people need to know is that the hood of Lee 1, the first General Lee to take flight, maybe, depending on who you ask, or which label maker was used on which car. Lee 1's hood, apparently the real thing, is on eBay right now. I don't know if the auction will close while we're on the air here, but is this really Lee 1's hood, or is this a fake?
First of all, it has 1 hour and 31 minutes and 34 seconds left, and it is now at $6,500, and the reserve is not met for a crumpled up hood with faded paint.
Is it blue?
It's green. It's like a funky turquoise kind of green color, but it does have orange showing through. If you look on the bottom side of the hood, the hood was originally green. It wasn't F3. I think it was F8 green, which is a dark shade of green. Well, it's definitely not Lee 1's original hood, I guess what the car was born with, because there's one scene in the Dukes where you can actually see Lee 1's hood open when they find the slot machines in the barn. They're trying to convince Uncle Jesse, that gambling's not so bad and they can donate the money to charity and all that. Well, in the background, you could see actually Lee 1 in the background with the hood up, and the underside of the hood is orange. So that's not this hood. So, what they did was when they, after Lee 1 was jumped, they stripped it of all the good sheet metal. So as they were damaging other cars, they would use the good sheet metal to repair the cars. Well, Lee 1, after they did it, they converted it over to the car that was used for Repo Men. Mm-hmm. In the 4th episode, they used all junk sheet metal and put up beat up fenders and doors and everything, and then painted the car that turquoise kind of green color, and then made as Richard Petty's wrecked race car. And so technically the hood did come off of Lee 1, but not originally. So it either came off of another General Lee that was wrecked, or it came off of the parts car that they purchased for production in Georgia.
But this really is that hood then?
Yes. When Lee 1 was found in the woods in Georgia, this is the hood that was on the car during that time. And it is the hood that was used, for the episode of Repo Men. But it's not the hood that when the car jumped over Roscoe's police car, that's not the same hood that was on the car during that time. Because after the jump, the hood was still fine. They saved that hood for another car that they would, continue using. So they just put a damage to it. And actually, really and truthfully, when they used the car on Repo Men, the hood really wasn't that banged up. So most of the damage that you see on the hood now was done after it was used in production, when it got bumped around in the salvage yard.
It's interesting because I have a General Lee sitting in my garage, but if it weren't wearing the General Lee paint scheme, it wouldn't be a General Lee. The hood that was on Lee 1 was not when Lee 1 was a General Lee. So is that a General Lee hood?
Yeah, it was at one time an orange hood because you can see the orange paint underneath the green on the exterior side. On the underside of it, you just see the factory green, and then you see the green that they painted for the episode of Repo Men. But like I said, on the outside, it's orange, and then it was painted the turquoise green color.
It really was on some General Lee, probably.
It is a true General Lee hood, but it's hard to say which one it is. For the longest time, I thought it may have come off of Lee 3 because it's the same dark green color that Lee 3 was, but the only other thing about that is Lee 3's underside of the hood was also orange.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's not off of Lee 3, and it's not off of Lee 1, and then Lee 2 was a dark blue car. One of the 68s was red. I'm not sure what color the other one is off the top of my head. I think it was blue. So it's looking like the hood originally came off of the parts car that they purchased. And then, so they would have pulled it off the parts car, put it on one of the cars, painted it orange, used it, banged it up, and then it found its way onto Lee 1.
That's a complicated
but even still,
mess.
it is what it is, you know.
And it's $6,500.
Reserve not met.
Man, you could buy many used refrigerators for that price.
Yeah, I sold 2 parts off of Lee One that I had. I had the rear valence and I had the front valence.
Where'd you get those?
And from the guy who restored it. We did some horse trading. He needed parts and I had parts, and so we swapped. Long story short, I was supposed to get the front valence, but I ended up being given the rear valence, and I didn't really want the rear valence. To make it right, I ended up with both of them. And so I got the front valence and the rear valence, and we were settled. Like I said, I never really cared to have the rear valence, so I put it up on eBay and sold it. It went to Alabama for $1,500. Then I kept the front valence because that's all I really wanted. I've got a couple movie front valences, and then I had the very first General Lee front valence, and so I really wanted that. Well, then a guy from the Netherlands contacted me, and he wanted it worse than I did. He kept wanting a price, and I never would give him a price, and he finally just said, "Put a price on it or something." I thought I gave him a go away, I don't want to sell it price of $3,500, and he said he'll take it. So I sold it.
You have just robbed people blind for years. Coming off as this nice home. Oh, shucks, ma'am.
I did not want to sell it, but then I figured if he was stupid enough to pay it, I'd be stupid if I wouldn't take it.
Hey, I'm just here to give you all some good information and charge you $17,000. Now I'm getting good for you. That's how the market works. If you have something somebody wants to buy, by all means, that's how this should work. There's only one Lee One, but your Lee One, that really was Lee One's valence, right? Had to be.
Yes, it definitely was, because it was the original copper paint color up underneath, and then it was orange on top of that, and then it was the turquoise green on top of that. And the thing I liked most about it was you can see with the small push bar where it folded back into the valence and it punctured the valence. So you can see 2 indents, 2 holes in the valence from where the push bar actually punctured it when it hit the ground after it jumped.
I would just take
We have a garage sale. We need to call Corndog.
Oh, man, that he's like Ron Swanson, where Ron Swanson doesn't know how much money he has. He just knows how much it weighs. I know what my portfolio weighs, and it's all in gold. That's pretty cool. So Lee One's, as you explained, hood is out there, and I guess we'll see where it closes, but it's going for a lot of money if it sells. So let's do the Dukes review. This is Season 4, Episode 18, Miz Tissdale on the Lam, written by Cy Rose, who I have always thought was dead by this point in time. Guess I was wrong. Directed by John Floria. Original air date, January 29th, 1982. Again, as a reminder, everybody, these are not on Amazon Prime anymore. So if you want to see them right now, you're back to the DVDs, and that's what I used. So here is the DVD summary, and then I'll give you the IMDb summary, and you can see what you like better. DVD summary says, Boss's mail order scam attracts investigation by a postal inspector, and he tries to frame Miz Tissdale, but not if the boys can help it. That's the DVD summary. IMDb summary, which was submitted by a user, I guess, says, Hazzard County Postmistress Emma Tisdale hides out at the Duke farm after learning she is being investigated by mail fraud. Or for mail fraud. The pending charges stemmed from Boss Hogg's decision to shift responsibility for selling non-existent properties. As Bo and Luke investigate, Miz Tissdale does all she can to try to cozy up to longtime crush Uncle Jesse. I don't love either summary, frankly, but I do love Miz Tissdale. She is one of my favorite all-time Dukes of Hazzard characters. She reminds me of the little old lady that was my babysitter as a kid, who was like 4.5 feet tall and all piss and vinegar and just super sweet. And the best part about Miz Tissdale, obviously she has a crush on Uncle Jesse. The best part is that she is Hazzard County's best dirt bike rider postmistress forever. And is this Jack Gill? Is Jack Gill who's always doing the dirt bike riding when it's Miz Tissdale?
I tried to look, and I don't think it is Jack Gill on this one. I think it's Kay Kimmler. She was always Daisy's stunt driver.
You do think it was a woman?
I think so, because on one of the scenes, you can see the motorcycle passing by, and you could tell it's a much younger female, because I thought the same thing. I thought, well, maybe this is Jack Gill. And he may have done some scenes, like if he did a jump or something from a distance, it may have been him. It was definitely a stunt woman. So I would have to guess it's probably Kay Kimler.
Let me give you a little information on Nedra Voles, and that was the actress who portrayed Miz Tissdale. And this is from IMDb, and I remember talking with Finnegan about some of this before, but it's amazing to me. First of all, she was an Iowa native, so it says the diminutive Iowa native was born in a trunk to vaudeville parents in 1908 and was immediately thrust onto the stage as Baby Nedra in tent shows and similar venues. A band singer and radio performer in her early adult years, maternal instincts took over after marrying her husband in 1944, and she raised 2 children, but the spark never completely died. In the 1950s, she was performing again in community theater shows. Here's where it gets good. As others of her ilk have done, she took a what-the-heck attitude and went for the professional gigs again in the early 1970s, meaning her film debut was at age 65. She started acting again professionally at age 65. Everything we know her for on this series, on Different Strokes, on The Fall Guy, on various other shows, is with a woman who started acting after age 65. And that is why she kicks so much ass. I love Miz Tissdale. I love every episode she's in. This is one of my favorite ones because she has Uncle Jesse in the sidecar, and she pulls the pin, and the sidecar magically has a second or third wheel on it and can drive, and then they come back together at a later time and reconnect. I love her so much. This is one of these kind of basically a boring episode or a normal episode that is saved by her. Her official height, 4 foot, 10.5 inches. So an interesting episode, but yeah, Boss Hogg gets into the mail fraud game. And this is in the good old days when he could just run a fake ad in newspapers and people would send you money. Right? You can't do that anymore. But this is the good old days. And that's basically the whole premise. Boss Hogg is running a mail scam. He has hired a goon that for some reason wears a Bo Duke shirt. And his hired goon has a P.O. box at the post office, and he goes in every day to pick up the money. In return for the money, they send back fake certificates of land that is being purchased. And these people think they're buying a plot at some Hazzard County retirement center. Hazzard Highlands, some garbage like that.
Yeah.
A beautiful young postal inspector comes there to investigate the mail fraud, and yada, yada, yada. Miz Tissdale gets the blame, and somehow the Duke boys also get the blame. I kind of forget all that. Interesting things in here. No good jumps as far as I could tell that were new. I saw some recycled ones. Even the bad guy car was a recycled jump. I pulled out a couple of General Lee items that I wanted to run by you to see if maybe there's more than this, but here's what I got. At the end of the episode, when they're generally kind of banging with the cop car, when you first see that scene, the front end's already pretty beat up. So it's just kind of shot out of order. But the real thing is towards the end when the bad guys and Boss Hogg go out to beat up the General Lee, they pull all the spark plug wires off, they pull the distributor cap off. And when they get to the car, now if I didn't have a 69 Charger, I wouldn't know this. But when they get to the car to pop the hood's actually already popped. They just lift it up. And when you see under the hood, it's not a hero car, it's orange. Orange underneath, it's just a Charger. So what are the details, and with black hood hinges, so what are the details in this car that I missed?
You pretty much got it. Like you said, it wasn't a hero car. It was just a run-of-the-mill Charger. And I think they kind of got wise to when they were popping the hoods and then you saw green up under the hood or blue under the hood. So they started spraying the bottom sides of the hood. This is definitely going to be a Ken Fritz era car.
So can you give some context on Values A to Ken Fritz to Warner Brothers, just as a good reminder for everybody?
And see, I really don't know the exact break on when the Values A stopped and Ken Fritz started, but I do know Tom Cimino started taking his notes. I don't know exactly what day it was that he started there, but I know at the beginning of basically January 1st, 1982, that's when he started keeping records of the cars, because I've got copies of his notebooks, and that's the earliest date that I've seen. So I know at that point, he's actually working on the cars. Being that this aired towards the very end of January of 82, chances are it could be a Tom Cimino era car. Maybe he just started taking better records.
What a lot of us, including me, thought maybe this was the line between prior to Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers was always what I thought was the wide push bar, no more side marker lights, light tan interior, and no backup lights. I always kind of thought that was the clear Warner Brothers switch. And that's the era that we're in now for the rest of the series. Are you saying that this was not a Warner Brothers built car, or this was built when Warner Brothers started building cars? They had a whole fleet of cars to convert over to that kind of standard with the wide push bar and all that. So are you saying that this was built prior to that and they had just converted it, or this wasn't built by them?
It could be either way, really. And see, that's the only thing, is I really don't ever know exactly when Tom Sermino took over. I know when he started, he basically walked in and had a field full of cars, and he just had to start working on them, but I don't know an actual date. It's a possibility that this could actually still be a Warner Brothers built car, and maybe we've already passed the Fritz era. See, the thing is trying to get Fritz to talk about anything, or any of his crew members, and trying to nail down specific dates. That's the hard part about trying to figure out exactly which car is which.
Until I met you, I didn't know there was a Ken Fritz era. I thought it was before the Warner Brothers and then Warner Brothers. I didn't know it was the Values A's until about a few years ago. And obviously that's my favorite car. That's what I cloned myself. That's my era. I love that one the most. But they all kind of have their place. I guess I like this one because even when the hood was open, you could clearly tell it wasn't a hero car, so at least we got something unique. After a while, the cars get so consistently built that they're too good, and it's not as fun to pick them apart. So, again, kind of a normal episode. There's a section in here where it seems like Tom and John are just going through the motions, and later, in a few months, they're about to quit. They're about to walk off the set. They're kind of walking through dialogue, and you can tell John Schneider doesn't know it, or Tom Wopat forgot his line or something. And instead of stopping to redo it all, they just kind of fumble through it and move on. It's not the best there.
That's one thing I was going to say was that, this episode, it was like pulling teeth. I mean, if you really, really look into the episode and you listen to the lines and then you watch it, I mean, this was about as cartoonish as they got. And so, like you said, here in just a few months,
they're about to bail out. Let me give you a few things that, for some reason, to me, are what stuck with me for a long time. These shows used to have a preview. So when you'd first tune into the episode, before the title credits even ran, they would have a preview the whole show, and it always had this music underneath it. Don't listen so much to what they're saying. Listen to the music underneath it.
On the Dukes.
The mill front, Miz Tissdale. Let her rip.
The Dukes go all out to keep Miz Tisdale.
It's always that. That's still what I think of when I think of how a Dukes of Hazzard episode starts. And probably because when I was a kid, this is when I'd be about 6 or 7 years old. But this is already halfway through this series. But whenever I hear that music, I think of that. Here's some transition music. I pulled 2 music clips in here. I don't even know what's going on right now. I think Roscoe is parking a car. It doesn't matter. They just need funny music to cover the transition. It's the horns. They crack me. So I think the production value of the music is what saves these episodes to me, plus Miz Tissdale, of course. But they're so clowny. It's awesome.
Do you remember the Midway commercial break?
Yeah, the generally the will continue. Dukes of Hazzard will continue.
That was one of my favorite things, and you don't ever see that on anything.
I found that on YouTube once, but it was such a bad. I was going to pull it and run it as a clip in here, and that's what we would run right before a commercial break, like a real one that we would read, and it didn't work out.
Maybe we can get a good clip of it.
I got 2 more clips for you. This one just was Roscoe, and it just cracked me up.
For bankruptcy.
What's wrong, boss? Something rotten in your fat burger?
Fat burger, that cracked me up. Just before I left home to come back to the office tonight, so we have cut the cord for the summer to try things, and right now we have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Bunny Ears. And that means that we're getting all of these other channels that Bernie loves, like 8.2 and 8.3, MeTV, the Laugh Channel. Like, our kids just have now discovered Tool Time. I forgot Tool Time. So we've been seeing that.
I love
We've seen
Tool Time.
My dad's favorite TV show of all time was MASH. And I remember MASH being on when I was a kid, like after the evening news, and it was on again tonight. And this was the episode where Sorrel Book came on as a general. And
really?
He's such a good actor. He sounds nothing like Boss Hogg in his normal voice. It's kind of hard to look at him when he's not in Boss Hogg character. But let me play this other one for you. This is, again, as cartoonish as it gets. So if you have a person of Asian descent and you want them to be in your Southern Fried California-made show, they have to be doing something. I would like to know after this is done if we could ever do this again.
Well, hush my puppies, if it ain't them good old Duke boys. How y'all doing?
Hey, Billy Joe.
I moseyed over here to borrow Cooter's torch. Got me a little welding doing my walk here, see?
Because he's Chinese, he has a walk.
Yeah.
One of my best friends...
And his name is Billy Joe.
Billy Joe from China. One of my best friends from high school was adopted as an infant from South Korea. He's the most American, least Asian guy I know. Like, he talks with a really deep voice and all that. But when they have Billy Joe from China on, hush my puppies, I must work on my walk. I forget this actor's name. He's also in the Kung Fu Panda, I think it is. Yeah, he's Kung Fu Panda's dad, the goose.
James Hong.
He's funny in this, and it's funny when he's riding around and he's yelling in Chinese, like driving the motorcycle. I know this was not a good episode, but there were a lot of comical, funny things in it. So I'm going to go first with my rating for this show on a scale of 1 to 10 corn dogs. Because of all the other crap that they throw in to make it funny, and because of all the jolly good memories it gives me, I give this one a 9. I really enjoyed this episode, and there were no good stunts. It was bad acting. There was not a lot of redeeming qualities in this one, but Miz Tissdale and the Chinese guy with the walk and the funny music, I enjoyed it. I give this one a solid 9. Bernie, I don't know if you saw this episode. I don't even know if you watched the episodes, but what did you think of this episode? What's your rating for this one?
Well, as a show producer, I have to kind of go along with you. You know, sometimes the guy behind the scenes is the guy that saves the day. He's the guy that saves the production and helps things along, helps tell the story and do what we call behind the curtain. It's called forward motion. And so that's what your music is doing, is trying to help promote a slower story and keep things moving along and keep your interest. So for that, I'm going to give it an 8, I believe. Like you say, it's kind of a stock, right off the shelf episode. And so for those reasons, and the fact that you had me at Postal Mistress, I'd never heard those terms put together before. So, I'm at an 8 for that.
All right, here's the judge of judges. The men of men. Not a valence goes by that he doesn't know the price of. Not even a Lee 1 hood is good enough for him. Corndog, what's your rating of this episode?
Wow, it was pretty bad. Like you said, the stunts were like, a lot of them was recycled. The acting wasn't the greatest. Mm-hmm. I liked Miss Tissdale in it, but my favorite part on the whole episode was the scene in the courthouse with the popcorn, watching Roscoe and Boss Hogg, when the popcorn machine just like goes crazy, and Roscoe is trying to funnel all the popcorn in his mouth.
Yes,
I was cracking up on that. So that kind of halfway saved it, and I gave it about a 7. It wasn't really that great.
That is what's right with this country. A man can criticize a 35-year-old TV show. 40. And we get paid to do it. That's what's right with this country. That's why we're ending on this patriotic note. You didn't like the episode then, huh? Not even Miss Tisdale would save it for you? She's the best.
Yeah, she's okay. All 4'10" of her.
Is this her final episode? She's only in a couple, right?
I looked. She's in 13 episodes.
Are you kidding? Whoa.
Yeah, 13.
I never would have thought that. Wow. Okay.
She's kind of about a third of her way in, so she has many more.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I have more to look forward to. Is she in lots of Coy and Vance ones? I'll bet she's there to save those.
Probably so. Yeah, they got to have someone to bail them out.
Well,
I've got an update on the hood.
Where are we at?
It's at 7,000 right now. Reserve is still not met with 38 bids and 1 hour and 1 minute left.
When it's done, text me. I want to know where it ends. All right. Well, with all that said, we have concluded to the conclusion of this patriotic edition of the Kibbe and Friends show. I think we'll end where we started by begging you to join us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/KF show and tune in for more of these shenanigans. This is one of our more off-kilter shows. I'd like to end with a little discussion on the very best day of the week for the 4th of July to fall. And this has everything to do with how vacation lands.
Yes.
So if you have a holiday on a Monday, you're working the rest of the week. It's clear. Unless it's Christmas or New Year's, but even in those cases, you're still coming. Same thing for a Friday. But if you have a holiday that lands on a Tuesday, well, okay, maybe the tail end of the week you're going to work, and maybe you're going to go in on Monday and kind of mail it in a little bit. But when it lands on a Thursday, there is no way you're expected to work on a Friday, or at least work very hard. And that also means you're not going to work very hard on a Wednesday. That means you got a 2-day work week and a 5-day weekend. That is my take on 4th of July. It's the perfect day. What do you think? What's your work week like this week? You have the most normal job of all.
7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. You know, we're taking off Thursday and Friday. Our boss said, if y'all work hard, then we'll take off Friday. Like, how is he going to judge if we work hard or not? So he's a slave driver, so he would like for us to come in Friday, but we're not. The worst day for a holiday is Wednesday. That's miserable. You got 2 days before and 2 days after, and it's a tease is all it is.
You can't fake it that way at all.
Yeah.
God bless America. Fellas, happy Independence Day to you. Everybody listening, happy Independence Day. And for those of our friends who are not in the United States, happy Independence Day to you too. Especially our friends from the UK. Hope everything's cool. We're all buddies. All right, guys.
All good.
If you get this on iTunes, leave a rating. Patreon.com/KF show. We will see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Hey, it's Bernie, your friendly show producer. So for a quick recap, here's Rob.
Because of all the jolly good memories it gives me, I give this one a 9.
And here's Corndog.
And I gave it about a 7. It wasn't really that great.
So the question is, what did you think of the episode today? A lot of fun, but kind of mediocre, like everybody said. Not a lot of great jumps and stuff. But you never have to do anything on the Kibbe and Friends show alone. So as always, we pulled a bunch of clips from the show. We're going to string them up right here, let you listen to them, and decide what you liked about the show. Okay? Sounds fun. Thanks for listening as always. Join us on Patreon, and we will see you next time on the Kibbe and Friends show.
On the Dukes.
Mail front, Miss Tisdale.
Let her rip.
The Dukes go all out to keep Miss Tissdale out of jail.
Eat dust, you turkey.
Yeah, hello.
Ah!
Get the flop. It's a crazy town.
Hang on, Jesse. No! Yeah!
Ooh, this is the best part.
In addition to being the postmistress, Miss Tisdale is also the hottest two-wheeler in town. Miss Emma cooks. She also happens to be awful sweet on Uncle Jesse.
Hi, Jesse. There you are. All addressed box 16.
Thanks.
Hold it. Identification, please.
I've been coming in here every morning for a week now.
Regulation, sorry. Okay, take a number.
I'm the only one in here. I know. Regulations.
Number 1. You're next. Take her away. Hey. You know, you sure got me curious. All that mail coming in here every day. What's it for?
Regulations.
But this is one time I think they're gonna pay off. Miss Tisdale ain't just fast. She's smart.
Let's see.
Ooh, look at all this.
We're running in luck now. Look. Yeah, and all them ads in them out-of-town newspapers. Like this. Own a piece of paradise. Just mail in $100 to P.O. Box 16, Hazzard County,
and you will receive a genuine official land gold certificate.
I can read, proclaiming your ownership of a beautiful view lot in the most scenic spot in Dixie, Hazzard Highlands.
There ain't no Hazzard Highlands.
Now you just get back to work stuffing them certificates in them envelopes. You know, them fancy certificates we just printed up. We want to give them suckers something for their $100.
What's wrong, boss? Something rotten in your fat burger?
Just got tipped off that a U.S. Postal Inspector is on his way down here to Hazzard to investigate some kind of mail fraud.
Mail fraud? Hold your tongue. Listen, they're on to us.
Slocum, you're going to have to blow town. You're the only link between us and that post office box.
Well, what about that old bat that works down there? She knows who I am.
Miss Tisdale, that old bat? Yeah, she knows you, but she knows you as Mr. John Smith. Yeah, that's why I gave you that ID card with a phony name and address.
You see, I told you the boss is always thinking.
Listen, that U.S. Postal Inspector fella ain't gonna rest happy until he nails somebody, right?
Right.
Well, what if he made it look like this whole operation was being run by none other than the aforesaid Miz Tissdale? You got it!
Sheriff, you're just the man I've been looking for.
I am? Yeah, you are. Would you mind taking a number, please?
My name is Blake, U.S. Postal Inspector.
Oh, that's pretty.
I'm investigating a possible mail fraud involving a phony land development called Hazzard Highlands. Did you ever hear of it?
Hazzard? No. Yes, of course not, lady. You kidding me here.
Well, where's the postal mistress, Miss Emma Tisdale? Well,
I don't know. She went out for a little bit. Listen, I don't want to tell anybody else this, but you know that she has been acting awful suspicious lately. I mean, that is one of the reasons I'm in here, see? I'm doing a little bit of investigating on my own. In fact, I'm just looking around here right at this moment when you came in and gouged me. Oh, look here, what I done found. What is that? Hazzard Highlands. You got one? Go!
Friends and neighbors, you're about to meet a member of Hazzard's oldest and only Chinese family, the Fongs. Everybody loves Billy Joe and his sister Scarlett.
Well, hush my puppies if it ain't them good old Duke boys. How y'all doing?
Hey, Billy Joe.
I moseyed over here to borrow Cooter's torch. Got me a little welding doing my walk here, see?
A man looked like he'd bitten to an apple and found half a worm and didn't want to let on none. Well, that's old Uncle Jesse's predicament. But Jesse, he's a gentleman. And right off, he did his best to make Miss Tisdale feel real welcome.
Easy. Emmer, I want you to know that our house is your house, and you're sure welcome.
Oh, that's so sweet of you, Jesse. And thank you, Daisy.
Sure.
Don't you worry about a thing, Miss Tisdale. We're going to find out who's trying to pin that phony land deal on you.
And if my suspicions are right, I got a feeling his initials are going to turn out to be J.D. Hogg.
Hey, Suan, we got to talk to you. I don't care what kind of evidence Roscoe's got. There is no way that Miz Tisdale could have dreamed up this Hazzard Highlands scheme.
No, so what we figured you should do is go talk to this John Smith fella. He's the guy that's been picking up all the packages at Miss Tisdale's. Now, with a name like John Smith, he's got to be using a phony ID.
Tell me, just how do you happen to know who's picking up the mail? And when exactly were you talking to Miss Tisdale?
Suan, Miss Tisdale is a friend of the family. And we know the situation here in the county. Now, isn't there any way that we can work with you on this thing?
I insist that both of you stay out of this. I trust I've made myself perfectly clear. Good day, gentlemen.
Oh, good. Ooh, that's right. Oh, well, we won't be needing this no more. Yeah. All right, here you are, Boo-Doo. Now, make sure you accidentally drop that thing during the grab.
Yeah.
Right. All right, now, come on. Let's go see if we can find that orange clunker car of theirs. We just got to give it a tune down. You know what I mean? Just in case.
I suppose they took my wallet for it. I got $3 in it.
Yeah, but it also had your ID in it. Didn't it ever occur to you they might be setting us up for something?
Yeah, we still ain't figured a way to pin Boss Hogg in with this whole mess.
Not until now, we ain't. Does that look familiar?
Whew! Well, wait a minute. It can't be more than 8 o'clock. What's Boss Hogg doing floating around here that early? 8 o'clock, Bo. We're slowing down.
What's 8 o'clock got to do with anything?
8 o'clock is when the mail's delivered to the post office. Now, somebody's got to go around in there and pick up all them bags of $100 bills, don't they? That's right. Let's get out of here.
Hey, we seen it! Yeah, we seen him rob the mill. Yeah, we saw the whole pea-picking thing.
One of them dropped this wallet. Belongs to Bo Duke.
See, I knew it. I knew it was those Duke boys. Look at that. It is Bo Duke. Yeah. Oh, my. Oh, well, don't you worry, none, Inspector Blake. We'll catch them thieving Duke. Come on, Shira. We're going. Come on. All right.
And she thought it was going to be easy when she left Atlanta.
Hold on a second, boss. You found us a piece of evidence over at your hideout site. I think it'd be mighty incriminating in court.
Well, where did you find it?
What's going on here?
Who, Inspector Bleak? We found them dangerous criminals, didn't we? Roscoe, you cuff them and stuff them, will you?
And as quick as you could say double-cross, old boss did a switch. He not only turned old Slocum and his pal in as the two masked crooks that framed the Dukes, but he laid off that mail fraud on them, too.
$100.
And in return, Bo and Luke agreed not to blow the whistle on old boss if he sent all the money back to the people he built in his mail scam.
Another $100.
And as for Miss Tisdale, not only did she receive a commendation, but Jesse admired her gumption so much that he finally broke down and invited her to go out catfishing with him. And it wasn't even fishing season in Hazzard County.
I know I carry on a lot, Jesse, but you've made me feel sexy again. Thank you.
I sure do like happy endings. Don't everybody?
You